Good.
Good. So, hi everyone. Welcome to this Shiur. You'll be very disappointed to see that I'm on my own today. Not on my own. I'm together with you. But my partner to the studies, Rav Amster in Stockholm, has a sick child and a wife who's away. So I'm here with you, which means that you will need to help me study. This will be an open session. You can all come along, discuss, debate. Those who know me know I try to do that also in a regular shiurim, also with there's another rabbi with me. But today, even more, let's do a joint study session. Um, uh, and uh, and we continue the topic of Agadah that we started last week, or started even before. But my sessions of December shiurim. And Hey, Shalom, Moshe-David.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I already started and welcomed and explained that we are lack of a partner, and I just invited everyone to come to a joint study session. So I hope that Rav Moshe-David, if you hear, it won't intimidate them from participating, because I invited everyone to join the joint limud session that we will have around today's topic. Um, uh,
Actually, when actually a bit midrash is not possible, even as a two and two. Maybe usually in the academic setting, people are used to saying you're listening, and people here are very nice and they just listen to the rabbis. But the whole idea of a bit midrash is that we learn from each other, and that it becomes a joint learning process. And I don't think the Talmud would even have been written. I'm sure it would not have been able to write the Talmud if this wasn't the format, right? So,
Yes.
um,
I have to say that I don't think that Talmud could have been written in Scandinavia. Like the aspects of first of all, that they have to come to agreement at the end and try to please everyone. It would never have worked writing the Talmud in Scandinavia. Sorry for my prejudice about Scandinavia, but I can see that all of you do yes with so you know what I talk about. But Rav Moshe David, I can tell you that the last week we had a very vibrant and people participated, so I'm not worried about people joining. And then let's go directly into the studies. The session that Moshe David doesn't even know, and I can see also as a non-Scandi, I agree. Yes, that's not a surprise. So Rav Moshe David doesn't even know what is the midrash that we're going to study now. So he's like really, he, it's a midrash that he knows. He already learned it before, but even though I think it's actually nice to see how you approach a new text without preparing yourself. It is a very nice example for that. The Midrash comes from Masechet Sanhedrin in the Talmud. Masechet Sanhedrin, Daf Lamed Tet, page 39. And it comes in a, it's
I just
page, you already
go
have
ahead.
something to say
Yeah.
about it.
No, 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 no. Go ahead.
No, so it's a midrash that comes after a long list of different stories of debates. First of all, about the creation of Adam and like the creation of humankind, but then it goes over to different sessions about discussions between rabbis and um, and Caesar or different important people from Rome that they had debates with. So very interesting for form. I think I maybe also in the past I've brought similar texts. These texts help many times to to show differences between the cultures, like using Romans looking on us and asking questions to our beliefs to to be better to formulate what is the Jewish core beliefs and vice versa. Like where is it we distinguish from different which opinions exist around the world. So this midrash comes as one of many of these kind of meetings that they had between. But this one had a unique twist because the rabbi very rarely happen in the Midrash we have today. The rabbi doesn't say a word, and that's very rare for rabbis to hold themselves from speaking. So we'll open the Midrash immediately.
It's fascinating, Rabbi Yair, that you mentioned this because just last night I spent the evening at my son's Talmudic yeshiva in Israel, and so they had an evening of the parents who came to learn with the children and meet and learn about the yeshiva, which is learning Talmud all day, very high level. And this and what the Rosh Yeshiva out of everything he could have shared, he shared a similar story about not this one, but a similar one. And I think it's exactly what you said because it was the point was to learn what is the yeshiva about, what is it unique about in comparison to other schools of thoughts, which is very fascinating. But
Yeah.
it's a wonderful. So now I get 2 nights in a row to be learning Torah about trying to understand what is unique, similar, and different.
And of course, you could also say about the how meaningful it can be for us also a zwaars-religieus study, right? A study of religious text and a study of thought through dialogue with people from different faiths. That I know that Rav Moshe-David has some experience with the idea of the joint Beit Midrash that you did, and which always enriches understanding both of our own and of the other through this dialogue many times. So it's something that can be done today. Not only look back to the text from the Talmud, but also continue and doing that also with neighbors and scholar. You don't have to be scholar to enrich. Um, yes, but let's go. Let's dig into this story. So the story tells about the emperor, the Caesar, the word in Amalek Caesar. The emperor said to Rabban Gamliel, "Your God is a thief, as it is written, in the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man, upon Adam, and he slept." Now, this quotation probably most of you can already remember where it comes from. Come from the story of the creation of Adam, Chava, the creation of Adam, and this is in the part where God takes a rib from Adam and brings him Chava, bring him the first woman. So, and the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man, and he slept. So the argue is God is a thief because he didn't ask Adam for permission to take his rib, which is right. I can definitely we didn't read anything about God asking Adam for permission to do that. His daughter said to him. Now, many times in Talmud, one of the very important issues is who said to who, because only says Amarle, Amarle, Amarlo, Amarle. He said to him without the explanation who said to who. But here it's quite clear to see. His daughter said to him, "Leave him as I will respond to him." So the daughter here is the daughter of the emperor, who tells Rabban Gamliel, uh, "Don't answer, I will answer." She said to him, okay, so now it goes back to the emperor. She said to the emperor, "Provide one commander, a dukas, for me." So he said to her, "Why? Why do you need him? What happened? Why do you need such a commander?" And she said, "Listen, armed bandits came to us this past night and took a silver jug from us and left a golden jug instead." Okay, everyone understands the example? Yes. So they took a silver jug and left a golden jug. So that's why she needs a commander to come and solve this theft. So he said to her, would it be that they would come to us every day? If this is the case, I would wish that these thieves will come every day. If they leave a jug of gold, then I'm quite fine with this theft. And she answers, and was it not good for Adam, the first, that took aside from him a rib and gave him a maidservant to serve him? Yes, so it was a good deal Adam did, right? Maybe God stole a rib, but he got a maid servant to serve him. שפחה לשמשו. So that's the first part of the story. Everyone follows? Good. He said to her, "This is what I was saying, but let God take in the open. Lishkele behedia, like he should do it where Adam knows about it. Why do it in the dark? Why do it as a thief? Like it's fine that he gives him something better, but why do it in this way, as a thief in the night?" She said to him, "Bring me a bring me a raw meat, a slice of raw meat." They brought it to her. She placed it under the embers. I have no idea what embers is in English, but uh, it's like a kind of a place you prepare the meat, and removed it. So she took this piece of steak, the blood steak, took it in front of his eyes, placed it on the grill, or what's called embers, and removed it. And she said to him, "Eat from this." He said to her, "It is repulsive to me." Why does it say this? We have to give a connotation. Of course, in that time, um, uh, not only in that time, I remember at my home, in the time that we used to eat meat, long time ago, but my wife never wanted to see when I was preparing the meat, because like all the blood and the cutting, and it was so gross that she's like, "No, no, I don't want to see it, because then I don't feel like eating it." And that feeling, some of you maybe know, like also when you make chicken, right, and go into the also it's much nicer to get it served ready made. So even though we know where it comes from, we prefer not to see all the preparation and the bloody piece. It's repulsive. And of course, when you're the emperor, you never go to the kitchen to see, right? You even said, right? You don't go to see how the sausages are being made, right? I think, do they say it in English too? Is it a say? I know in Danish you say like you don't want to see how you make a sausage. It's better not to know it. Just eat the result. So the same thing here. It's repulsive. He doesn't want to see all the process. He can't bear seeing the bloody piece. It's not something he wants to eat. And then she says to him, Adam, the first man as well. Had God taken her in the open, she would have been repulsive to him. She like Adam. He if he saw the process, if he saw where she come from, and saw the bloody part and all the surgeries that is made, then he wouldn't think so highly of her as he would when it comes. Yes, so this is a story. I know this is not the most feministic story of all times. um, when we think of these two comparisons of maidservant and the female as a stake. Although I think sometimes you still use this, right? When you talk about a piece of meat, you can actually, until today, people still can talk and use these comparison also in modern language to when you talk down to women as like a piece of meat you want to eat, to taste, and so on. So it isn't only something that existed 2,000 years ago, unfortunately. So, but before we dig into it, let's hear your reactions and thoughts. What's your or questions? What do you think of this weird text? And
I was thinking that if he got repulsive towards her, his partner, if he would have seen the process, it's like he's repulsive towards himself because it's it's a piece of him.
that's interesting direction. Like they're saying, when you when they're repulsive to the meat, w- w- she comes in and tells him like, you take this as a repulsive, but like this is repulsive to yourself, to your very own existence. I agree. That's a very strong uh, simulation, and she tries to tell him, you misunderstood something. If you think it's repulsive, if you think it's theft, something is wrong with your understanding doing this. Yes? Any other thing that you saw in the way that you think this is interesting to look at? Yes, Paulina?
I'm just thinking that what I can think about, and especially as you said, like how women are still called the piece of meat in 2024. It's like the overfladisk, being overfladisk, like seeing only what's the outside is, what does it look like, and not the inside, you know?
Yeah, the
Looking only on the body and not on the soul.
yeah, which is the way you uh, but then why does she choose to say that? I agree with you that
Mm.
uh, then how come she speaks so poorly about women as a piece of meat?
Because he doesn't have respect for them for some reason.
So and then what? Where does she bring them? It's interesting. So you say she thinks he doesn't have respect for women.
No. It's like I'm thinking that in general, like what I'm thinking about this text is like it says something about like how overfladisk, how shallow it is to like look only on like for example the process of preparing the meat. Like I want the outcome, it's beautiful, like it's tasty, but I don't want to know the truth. It's kind of like I'm trying to make a metaphor that like if there's any men, whatever, like at that time and our time, talking about a woman in a disrespectful way, like calling her as a meat, then it means that like this is the only thing that he sees and not what is inside. And I don't have a deeper thoughts about it. It's just what I'm thinking
No,
about.
it's a good thought, and I think in for me the first interesting part when you read it, like one thing is the question that he goes to Rabban Gamliel. It's very interesting to think why is it Rabban Gamliel doesn't speak. Like I'm actually very interesting to hear what Rabban Gamliel has to say about it. Yes, Chaya?
I think there is something I don't know, but something looks like something is missing from this. Maybe we're not understanding it well. First, I don't think that's always, now talking generally, it's not always about men looking on women, like looking down, but it's also a lot of how women behave and how they place themselves in situations. But now coming back to the text,
I
women
think what you
are
said is
also
very relevant to the text.
somehow, exactly. And I think we women are as much creatures of Hashem as a man are. So who is who to question Hashem's creator? So there's something missing there. I don't know, but I will let you go on.
Okay.
I'd like to, I'd like to just jump in and one thing that Chaya said there is that who is the one who calls Eve, who is the mother of all beings, the first mother, and calls her a maidservant? It's not the emperor and it's not Rabban Gamliel, right? And I'm quite shocked to see this as a statement. In other words, it's not only the meat that we're talking about, it's a Chava who has such a high respect, I would say, in the Torah, in Bereshit, in the first story, right?
You have some.
What for sure, her name is called Em Kol Chai. She's the mother of all beings,
No doubt.
and she is the partner, and she's the in that sense. She's never called a maidservant in the Torah. So it's actually the woman who is looking and saying, well, what is even saying something, she's trying to say something good, that something good came out of this so-called stealing. But the best she can say a woman is worth is a maidservant that's going to serve Adam. And that's very degrading, I would say, just to follow up on what Chaya was saying there. Anushka.
Yeah, going back to the part where he said that it's repulsive. I think you can see that from two perspectives, because one thing obviously is the optics, that you don't want to be seen somebody cutting you and taking out a rib. But the other side, I think, is also that then Eve becomes, she is a part of you. And I mean, we all know that later they go on and have a lot of children, and maybe it's also this repulsive thought that you're having children with yourself.
I know many people who would dream about having children with themselves. Some narcissistic people who would wish. Yeah, but that aside,
Rabbi Yair, I feel that we jumped a bit forward in the story, because
I agree. That's why I want to start from the beginning.
Just to look at as I am also a historian, right? Looking at the historical perspective, just the first word, even though you gave the introduction and said we have these debates that are ongoing in the Talmud, just to try to think, what does that mean? What does it mean that the emperor of Rome is meeting with you can say, the chief rabbi of Israel? We had that a few years ago, maybe with the Pope in Jerusalem, etc., or the Mufti, but the very fact that the emperor of Rome is meeting with Rabban Gamliel is that in itself is it's striking, and the fact that it's natural that the Talmud says it. Oh well, one day they were meeting. First of all, secondly, my question is, where do we picture it and open? It wasn't answered. What is the setting? Not only what is the historical setting, but what is the physical setting? Where do we imagine? And since there's no answer in the Talmud, everyone here can maybe think, where do we imagine it taking place?
But knowing that the daughter is around.
But Rabbi Yair, are you sure that it's clear which daughter?
I haven't seen anyone. It actually the wording of the Amale Barte. Literally wise, it will finger towards the emperor, not the Rabban Gamliel's daughter. But you're right that you can open to an interpretation, a different interpretation, saying that the daughter can be either. Oh, this has come to the problem that we have with wordings in the Talmud, that you only have Amar lo, Amar la, and without who said and who did they say it to. So it's actually open. You're right that theoretically, I haven't seen anyone interpret that this is not. But among other things, for example, when she tells him that bandits came to us this night, she says to him. So it's very clear that she tells it to her father not to, like, it's very clear that it's supposed to be the emperor.
I just wanted to throw that out as a literal comment because on the words itself, but I agree with you that I think it makes sense also the way that she's speaking, and also even the way that she says to Rabban Gamliel, basically, oh, let me take care of him, right? From the very beginning, right? Let me take care of him. I know he's just a troublemaker, basically. Let me deal with it. You can go on with your business. Let me deal with it. So I don't think that Rabban Gamliel's daughter would, even if this was taking place in the Holy Land, um, wherever that might be at the time, if it be in Yavne.
But we know that Rabban Gamliel also took to Rome a few times.
Exactly,
So
but
again, I'm not
I
talking
was
about
gonna
historical, did this happen or not? This is like a different story, but the setting could just as well be um, assumed to be in Rome just as well.
exactly, which is the point I wanted to emphasize when we try to think of the setting itself. Just think of the fact. Okay, so let's imagine this is taking place in the Colosseum in Rome. Okay, and which could very well be, if it is historical or not. But the very fact that in the Talmud who's telling the story, that makes sense, because we know that Rabban Gamliel, his entire family knew Greek fluently, and they were the only ones, according to the Talmud, in Sanhedrin, that were allowed to learn Greek philosophy, because it was considered pagan, it represented idolatry, and chokhmot chitzoniot, right? Things that could influence in the wrong way. So Rabban Gamliel, because they were diplomats and because they had the position, so their family was allowed. So he speaks Greek fluently. He's dressed like the Romans, as we know from other places, and he's traveling by boat to Rome, which wasn't so far away. But just to imagine that is the setting, I think is quite astonishing, even before we start the fifth word or the sixth word of the story. That in itself is quite astonishing. That whether it happened or not, as you said, the very fact that this is a setting that is put forth not by the Romans, that the Talmud thinks is very natural, that the chief rabbi is traveling to Rome and having a conversation in Rome with no less than the emperor.
Yeah,
I
but
think
I would add to this of Moshe-David, then the question is even stronger. So why do you have such a story that Rabban Gamliel doesn't say a word like that he doesn't? we don't hear the Jewish perspective. Like something is missing from the whole story,
but
especially
I'm
because
just
of that setting.
yeah, I'll just finish the historical point. I think, if I'm not mistaken, according to the historical accounts that we have, the highest level of command that actually came to Judea was the second in command, was Marcus Agrippa. I think it's that, as far as I know, was the highest level. We don't have an actual emperor besides the one who became emperor, right? With the famous story with right. Um, that's also second in. He wasn't even second in command. So we have the second in command, which was made a big deal. King Herod the Great um, prepared the whole journey and Caesarea to receive him, and he was taken to the Herodium. So that's as far as I know. So I'm just finishing the historical points, which is, I think, up to each and every one of us. When you read a Talmudic story, is that interesting to you to know who the story is about, who are the rabbis, what is the historical setting, what generation of the Talmud are we talking about? All of that can add a lot of layers and knowledge to the story
Yeah.
itself. But I'll let you
So,
go on,
so
Rabbi.
what Moshe David, if
Yeah.
you continue the historical aspect, I would say the same also about Rabban Gamliel. But Rabban Gamliel is not only the chief rabbi, as he said. Rabban Gamliel is the Nasi Israel, he's the president, and he comes from, according to the tradition, from the family of King David. So he's like the closest we have to the Jewish king going to speak to the emperor. He's not only the most important rabbi, that actually not necessarily, like he's not we can see in different other places, Rabban Gamliel, when he debates with the rabbis, he's not the one who had the best of knowledge. He's the one who has the kavod and the position, but he's not necessarily the greatest rabbi of his time. He's the most important rabbi. He had the position of the president of his time, but also the closest thing, as I said, to be the king in this dialogue between the civilizations, between the Roman and the Jewish civilization. Then it's like our king with their emperor. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah.
so don't just jump into the point is when you're reading any midrash, right? Don't just jump in, even if you don't before you go, because we jumped all the way down to the meat, or right down to the relation to women. Sorry, I'm going to take back the word "don't," just as a suggestion that it's always interesting, even before we start. Who are we talking about? What is the background? What is the frame?
Yeah. So now my question again, as I said, I asked you and I ask everyone. A very interesting part is one thing is why we don't hear don't hear Rabban Gamliel, and what's the story with the daughter? Now, before we go into the answer, think of the scene, right? The first scene where she comes in, let me answer. What's happening there? What is the setting? What is the Talmud trying to tell us in this form of debate? Why is it we don't hear Rabban Gamliel? Why is it we hear the daughter coming and answering? Do you have a suggestion? There are no right answers here. It's all like trying to take out of the story what we can take out. So the wording are mine just as they're yours. Anyone has a? I also prefer to hear your suggestion before mine, so I'd be open to that they don't shut your way of thinking and you just accept. The rabbi said it's better that you come.
I think, as you said before, they're just shocked because they've never actually heard a rabbi not speak. So
Do you have a suggestion of Moshe-David?
I'm looking at Cecilia, who I miss very much, and who's thinking a lot. Cecilia, maybe you have an idea. Why is the rabbi not speaking and the daughter jumping in? I'm sorry for asking you, but I'd love to hear if you have a thought.
Well, a little bit I'm thinking is the woman taking the initiative to take the power and explain it to the emperor and to make a better plan to all women. Do you understand me?
I think if I understand you correct, like something that when she comes in, she says something about take it towards all women. This is what you said, right?
Yes.
And I think in that sense, in many ways, this is exactly the setting that the Talmud starts with. He said, you think this is a regular of these kind of debates that is a debate between Judaism and Romans, like debate between civilizations. And this daughter comes and says, no. It's not, this is not a debate among civilizations. This is a debate of gender. This is a gender debate, not a religious debate between different theologians. This is a gender debate that we have, and also there, in that sense, I would actually be very interested to hear what Rabban Gamliel would have said and what Rabban Gamliel's daughter would have said in this debate. But I agree that there's something here that goes towards all women. This is not an issue to discuss between Jews and Christians or Jews and Romans. This is an issue that all women are standing in front, maybe connected to if I go to the Jewish tradition, the rabbis had there's a saying of two different approaches our tradition has towards women. There was a tradition asking when someone got married or engaged that they would have been asked, matzah or moitze? What is matzah or moitze? This is two different quotations from the Bible. What is matzah? It says, matzah isha matzah tov. If someone finds a woman, then he finds something good. And what is motze? Motze ani ma mimavet et האישה. I find woman worse than death. So the very different quotation. Matzah isha matzah tov. You find the same word, right? Matzah and motze, finding. The one says, you find a woman, you find good. You find a treasure, you find something great. And the other is motze ani ma mimavet et האישה. I find a woman, she's worse than death. I prefer dying than having this woman. And this question was asked by someone who newlywed. It was asked, so which woman did you find? The matzah or motze? Did you find a woman that is worth dying, or did you find something good? This is like the classic old debate about relations between women and all the jokes that continue until today about how difficult it is to be married, and think how many stand-up comedians, and this is what they make the living from, the debate about how impossible it is to manage with the women and so on. Now I'm saying the man perspective, and because I never felt it from a different place. But sometimes they do wonder when these comedians use these jokes about how impossible it is to be with a woman. How is it felt by a woman sitting in the audience? I actually don't. I can assume, but I actually don't know. Like these jokes about the stupid women or irritating women or impossible women, it's what. In a way, maybe this is why she jumps, this daughter. She jumps because of all this cultural thing that she meets all the time. She's the emperor daughter, which is also impossible. Like you're in a situation, you're going to. Should I remind you what the emperor daughter's role is? Historically, princesses were used by their parents. They were used to create alliances. You were married to, so even though you may, it was worse to be a commoner, but being the daughter of the king meant that you will be married to an old king from a different, because you need a political arrangement. Like these women weren't in the best position regardless. And maybe women had better position in Rome, a bit more, like a bit better position than other places in the world. That might be right, but still, she's not in a good position in her life, being the daughter of the emperor. A princess is, yeah?
Rav Yair, excuse me, but I think after all of these years, you have fallen for her trap. Because what does she do here? She takes a philosophical conversation, which is talking about God and whether God can steal. And we have other, right? We have some other examples in which you have these philosophical debates between the Greeks and Judaism, or between the Roman. Can God steal? Can God do this? Is God truly good? Etc. etc. And she has taken it and basically distracted it. And that's why Rabban Gamliel is no longer involved, because she's taken it and taken him down a line, which is exactly what you have done here. You've taken us away from the actual question: is does God steal? Can Hashem steal? Is that something that is the right thing? and she's
That's like
distracted
happened
him.
in gender studies today, right? Everything turns into a gender question, like regardless of what
Exactly,
you do.
exactly. And I think, and I'm just looking at again at the framework of the story. It's very strange that she can even jump in to the conversation. And I'm wondering how the conversation started and again in what setting. Could it be that the Kesar just, is it a form? If it was a form of a debate like we have in other places, even in the medieval days, in which you have a courtroom and you have a debate ongoing, there's no way that she could actually step in there. So either they're sitting, which could possibly be because we know that Rabban Gamliel really liked the sauna a lot, right? So is this happening in a bathhouse and his daughter is serving him or something like that? Could it be that maybe he just even sends almost like a letter, a philosophical question that he asked, he just asked this question, but it's not an actual discussion or debate. Because how does this distraction even happen? So if I imagine that there's a hypothetical question that is asked to Rabban Gamliel in some sort of setting, it's not a debate, he's not even there. But the point here is that the daughter distracts him away and takes it into, using your example, takes it into gender study, takes it away from the philosophy and brings it and takes it in another direction, which is why Rabban Gamliel doesn't even answer. Maybe he knows that it's worthless to answer because we have other places which we have answers, right? So I'm just throwing out
Yeah,
some
but you're
thoughts
throwing
on
this out. But as you also said, this is exactly what I said is what she said. She came and heard a question that was a theological question about, yes, about God's behavior, about stealing, which her father insists. Also, after he said, okay, he said, fine, no problem that was a better thing. I was just asking about the method, not about what he got. I didn't say anything about women. I was only talking a theological. And she comes and insists twice, both the first time and the other time. No, stop hiding because when you ask this question, you don't see what lies in behind, what I have to suffer for the whole time, and you just ignore. You oversee. You're so focused on, oh, the poor man who was his rib was taken and how God instead of looking on what you're supposed to look on the women's position about the gender question. This is exactly what she says and insists. And so I would say you fall to the same mistake that Rabban Gamliel and the emperor thought, that they thought it's a theological question that we ask about God and the creation. And she comes and says, stop, see us, see what this stealing is about. Don't think of the rib. Talk about the woman. Don't talk about what was done to you men. Talk about us with the result. See this is exactly what she says him. She starts in a way the gender studies of the world. She starts this aspect insisting on this is the main question.
Rav Yair, I think you're being highly credible towards the women's position in the Talmud. I'm not sure that that could be said for all cases, but I also think in this specific case, I don't accept like what you're suggesting here because she herself is not standing up for women's rights in any way. She's the one who calls the woman Chava, of all people, the maidservant. So even if she is seeing the woman, right, that's very nice. She's seeing the woman. She's bringing her into discussion where she wasn't. That I agree. However, she the maximum position that she could give, maybe from her own position herself, as you suggested before, is that a woman is a maidservant, nothing more than that, and even stronger than what you said before. I mean, the princesses were not only married off, even the empresses, right, were basically there for the birth of the next child, and sometimes died in birth or were even killed in birth by some of the emperors. So, because the main thing was that the male child would continue on, right? So, it's definitely not a world that we see women's rights. That's for sure.
Yeah, but almost David, I actually want to disagree with your like. I like your challenge, and I will take it, and I will. How do you say when you play poker um, that you add
Up,
the
up, up, up the game.
yeah. I'm not trying to up the game because I think that what you said is actually exactly what she does in a very clever way. Think of your daughter answering, come with this example using in purpose the wording of a servant, right? Because she didn't have to use it. She didn't have to say shifcha. She could have said bringing him a woman, right? She chooses in purpose to confront him with his positions. Say, yeah, they came, stole, and gave something better. Here also, Adam got a female servant to him, a shifcha. And instead of saying, no, 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 you are not a shifcha, like we have when rabbis have this debate with women today in different circles, they say, no, no, you're not a shifcha, you're a bat melech. You're king's daughter, right? So many times people can use this terms in Jewish thoughts. No, no, kol kvoda bat melech pnima. You are daughter of a king. You are so special. You are something. This is what you're supposed. And he comes and accepts her the way she explains it. Now she goes to a very strong Jewish tradition of reading chapter 2 as a very problematic chapter. There is the best example is from Masechet Kiddushin, when Talmud discusses different ways, different phrases that a man can use to lekadesh isha, to create a wedding, to make a woman engage with him and do a kiddushin. And they ask, what if he uses this tongue and says, if he says charufati, tzalati, ezrati, sgurati, and brings like a long list of names. And when you look on all these quotations, you can see Rashi at the place in Masechet Kiddushin, almost all the quotations come from chapter 2 in Bereshit, of the creation of woman. And the Talmud there discusses, if the man says these words, you should be, instead of harat mekudeshetli, would say harei at tzalati. You are my rib. I don't know why a man would think to say that. And then the Talmud says, all these languages are problematic because it can be misunderstood. Does it mean it as a servant, as a slave, or as kiddushin, as a woman? This is a conclusion of the debate in Masechet Kiddushin, that everything that is read in chapter 2 can be read as Ezer Kenegdo. Who is the woman? She was created to help man. So she is doomed to be in this position as help, as a servant to the man. Ezer Kenegdo. She's just like God tried to create the animal to help him, then he created woman to help him. This is a way to interpret this story. And I think she chooses in purpose this way of interpretation because she says, this is how you look at us. And you agree. You're right. It's a great thing God gave us a servant. This is what you say. You just ask, it's not nice the way he did it, but I'm thankful that God created woman as a servant to the man. And then she continues. So you talk about the way, and she goes back to, first of all, to the example of the piece of meat. The piece of meat that all of us can like feel uncomfortable with, but as a few of you mentioned to begin with, the piece of meat is actually Adam's piece of meat. So he comes and says, this is yourself. We are not a servant. We are your own piece of meat. Stop looking at us as a piece of meat you can take. We are your own piece of meat. We're not under. We are the same thing. taking from your rib. It's your own. It's not, you are not supposed to. And in the deepest sense, what is her comparison? The real comparison that she comes with is not the male servant, is not the shifcha, but it's a metaphor she uses. And what is the metaphor? The metaphor is that she says, bandits came to us this past night and took a silver jug and left a golden jug. She comes and says, I'm the upgrade of human. Like as a we're not woman under man. We are man 2.0. We are the upgrade of creation. Man was created lonely and with trouble and needed help. We are created. I'm the golden jug that was created out of a silver. So I think that she comes with a kind of, we can't use word feministic because they didn't know these terms, but in a way, like with a perspective, comes and says, we are women, we're a better creation. Look on yourself, how you treat women. Look on yourself, how you treat people. This is the main problem. Not if God stole the rib from you or not. Look, how do you look at us? This is the main issue. And you should look at us as a jug of gold, not as poor as you. You are a jug of silver, and you were given instead something much better. And I think this lies very deep in what she said. That's why she insists on shutting maybe both of them down. Stop Rabban Gamliel and the emperor. I will answer you, because this is my story. Stop telling us what we are. I will tell you what we are. And this is, and so she uses the wording from within his perspective to confront him with his perspective. This is my interpretation of Moshe-David. Now I raised the stake. Now you can try to.
I just think that the Talmud, it's amazing that it had to travel 2,000 years all the way to Rav Jair in Copenhagen for you to fill in such an interpretation that is not there anywhere in the story. It's all between the lines, between the words, and it's very nice. I like your creativity. I'll give you that.
I have to say I studied it from Rav Shmuel Faust, so it's not the one I heard, at least quite a few aspects from that I heard first from him. So and he's a Agadah expert, the Agadah expert in Israel. So if you think that I misinterpreted, then it's also him.
It's fine. You're trying to cover your back. It's fine. But I do think that one more thing, because I think we can leave the questions also open or take them in different ways. One other aspect that I think is interesting to look at here is we have a glimpse from the Talmudic eyes on the relationship between the emperor and his daughter, which is in itself very interesting. And I think even less between the words and between the lines, I'm going to stretch it a bit less than you have stretched it, Yair, is we see that first of all, there's communication and there's respect. And also the fact that it's almost as if he's enjoying the conversation with her. That's, in other words, you see that he says, that's what I said, right? He's not even arguing, even if it's nothing close to what he said before. But that's what I said, that's what I meant, because and through that, I feel, through those words, I feel that there's a liking there, that you can really listen in and hear that there's a relationship. And again, this is being told from Talmudic eyes, which were not the Roman Empire was both a physical and also spiritual enemy. So I think it's very interesting to see that. And I'm also not sure that this is a conversation. In other words, maybe she's smart enough that she's not taking it as a debate. Maybe she's taking it part by part. Maybe a week later, you have the story in which she says to him, In other words, he sends this off from Rabban Gamliel. Rabban Gamliel decides it's not even worth. I'm going to give it another interpretation. Rabban Gamliel later on the same page in the Talmud has many discussions in which he gives answers. But this one, he realized it's not even worthwhile. So he doesn't even answer, or it was given by a messenger or something and he didn't get back to him. But she decides to step in. And the story that happens afterwards with this commander who's supposed to be, she says to her husband, to her father, give me a commander. In other words, Rashi says, I need a commander to take revenge upon someone. That's the word dukat. That's what Rashi says. And so he doesn't. The emperor doesn't ask questions. He's going to do what he says. What for? I think for political reasons. He doesn't want to get in trouble. What are you doing here? What are you planning to do? But she's using that, and then when she says to her, she comes back and she's overheard this conversation about Adam and God and stealing, and she brings that back to the conversation in a very smart way. So what I agree with you on Rabbi Yair is that she's very intelligent. She's working behind the scenes, as many times women in Rome were, um, and pulling the strings and realizing the temper of her father and how to work with that as well. But I also think that we see here the relationship that we have through the Talmudic eyes, that they're having discussions, that she can be cunning, that he can appreciate her cunning. Um, and I think that's another aspect that is very interesting to see her. But at the end of the day, as you said, we don't have a Rabban Gamliel's response to the question, which is the philosophical question that was asked by the emperor, which is very interesting. And it would have been interesting not only to hear Rabban Gamliel's perspective on women, but also to hear his perspective on the philosophical question. Why was this done in hiding? Wouldn't it be better done to do in the open, or if there was a question? But maybe Rabban Gamliel just felt that it was a waste of time, so maybe we don't have to waste time on that either. Anyone?
The Talmud did waste paper and pages in the Talmud for the story, so I think the Talmud thought it important to use time on this wonderful story, which I still insist comes with a major debate, that it's amazingly still the same debate. It's amazing how we still have this gender debate, and I really hope that we came to a generation that will be the last generation, that this question of power play that is connected to gender. My hope, my prayer is that it will cease from existence. That in the next generation, or in 2 generations, our children won't even understand what was it they discussed, because they will be born into a different way to look on the things and the position and the power that was misused in so many years against women. Yes. Good. So this was a study for today. We'll see you again next Wednesday. Shabbat Shalom.
Oh, just before you head off, Yair, what was your reference again? Sorry.
The story?
No, the reference to the rabbi in Israel.
What do you mean, the reference to the rabbi?
Yeah, the one that backs up your opinion, because it's a kind of alternative opinion.
Rav Shmuel Faust.
Smooth Faust. Okay,
Shmulik,
thank you.
Shmulik
Faust.
Faust.
Okay. I'll try to look now. Okay, thank you.
Thank you to everyone who participated also in the conversation, even though Rav Yair and I got a bit heated up there, and we had a nice bit midrash. But thank you all for participating, and
Yes.
I hope you continue to do so, and we'll give you more space the next time.
Thank you for the great debate on Moshe-David. I love it when we debate about it. Reminds me of old time that we actually studied together quite a few times in the yeshiva, and it's always lovely to. It's much better when it's not ready-made for you, but you actually feel how it happens. We sit and study and discuss and debate, can even tease each other. That's how we used to do that. That's a lively Beit Midrash.
Thank you all, and Laila Tov to everyone.
ברוך הבא
תודה.
תודה, שבת שלום.
ברוך
שבת
הבא
שלום.
משפחה.